Welcome, everyone. I'm Denise Tador of ABC7 Eyewitness News. I will be your host for this evening. Thanks for being here because together we will rebuild our beloved Barlow Hospital. It is a healthcare institution dear to our hearts and dear to our lives as we've learned during this pandemic. Now, while Barlow has a long history of experience in caring for critically ill patients, virtual online fundraising is new to all of us here. So please forgive us if we make a little misstep anywhere along the line. And that's going to be the beauty of this. This is live. And be certain to type your questions into the chat box there on your screen, and we will share those questions with our panel. And of course, visit Barlow online at barlowhospital.org. Thank you again for all your support for this hospital. And by being here tonight, you're helping to build a new hospital that will serve patients and the community for generations to come. Our panelists this evening, they are all legends. Steve Garvey, Dennis Gilbert, Wendy Carrillo, Larry King, Carrie Champion, Dr. David Nelson, Barlow Respiratory Hospital Medical Director. They are all standing by here live, ready to inform and inspire. We're also going to have a special visit from Vince Scully. So let's get started now with Amit Mohan, Barlow's CEO.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am Amit Mohan, President and CEO of Barlow Respiratory Hospital. We are excited to share with you our plans for the future. But before we do that, let's start with the story of this hospital. In 1902, this hospital was founded by the determination of one man, Dr. Jarvis Barlow, who, after being stricken by tuberculosis, decided to establish a place to care for these patients. And actually, during 1918 pandemic, the influenza patients were taken care of in that building by Dr. Barlow. The building right behind me was built in 1927. And in that building, since the advent of ventilators, the ventilator-dependent patients have been coming to Barlow to get liberated from the ventilator and to be taught to breathe on their own. Our physicians, nurses, respiratory therapists, an entire clinical team have been working for years to perfect the art and the science of weaning patients from ventilators. For as long as our ventilators have been around, we have been taking care of those patients. Patients who come to Barlow are very sick. Some have been given little hope of recovery at the hospitals that saved their life, and they come here to learn to breathe on their own. Here we see patients speak their first word after months and literally take their first step after months, but we also see patients take their last breath here. Our hallways are narrow and the rooms are small. These rooms, built in 1927, do not allow us to provide the comfort and dignity in those last moments, which are equally important as the good care that have come to define us over decades and years. Please join us as we continue our transformation to build a new hospital that will enable us to provide comfort and dignity to our patients, along with the high quality care that has come to define us for many generations. We have already begun the work since we last met. We built the new fluoroscopy suite. We are in the midst of building new pharmacy and rehabilitation gym. And once that is completed, we'll begin work on building new patient's room and a brand new ICU, where majority of single rooms will enable our clinical team members to provide good care in a safe environment with comfort and dignity. The single rooms will enable us control and prevent the spread of infections. The spacious environment will allow the patients and family dignity and privacy. When a loved one is ill, a hospital can become like a second home, where the patients and family can be cared for with dignity and in privacy. Sometime during 2023, we'll be caring for the patients in brand new rooms in a healing environment. And once the new hospital is built, we'll transform our entire campus into the best post-acute destination in Southern California. Thank you to all our team members who have continued to provide excellent care during this pandemic. Thank you for supporting our campaign to rebuild Barlow. And a special thank you to all our physicians and hospital partners across Southern California that are generously supporting us tonight despite the economic adversities of the pandemic.
Hey everyone, it's Jason Latimer, the world champion of magic. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It really means a lot to me and my friends at Barlow that you're here. I wanted to do something really special for this evening, so I've decided I'm going to combine science and magic. Now, a lot of people think that those are two completely separate subjects, but for me, they're actually one and the same. See, magic is everything we don't understand. And so the only difference between magic and science is a difference in understanding. Let me explain. Take a glass of water, fill it up like this. Home experiment time. Take some blotter paper, get it nice and wet so you can get a nice tight seal on this. And we're gonna place it right here. Now, had you never seen this before, this situation would look like magic. However, through your questions, you determine the forces in the cup are greater than the forces of gravity. The suction in the cup is now holding the piece of paper upside down, and this is no longer a magic trick. This is science. Make sense? Your understanding made this possible. But if I take this piece of paper away, and the water stays up in the cup, the funny thing is, this is actually still physics. It's still physics. It's just, right now, one of us has a better understanding of the situation. One of us have asked the questions that are required to make this possible, which is why the right question changes everything. And when I figured that out, I wanted to see how I could apply that towards magic. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite illusions from my Impossible Science series. Now it's going to use this bowl, and I would ask you normally to put your hands out over the bowl, but I'll use my hand instead. You just have to trust me. I'm going to pour these pitchers of waters through my hand. Not because I want to make my table wet or my hands wet. It's mainly because I want to show you there's nothing in the water. And your job is to look inside the bowl. Make sure there's no hidden compartments, trap doors, or mirrors, okay? No gaps, and like that. And more importantly, nothing underneath the bowl, okay? Great. Now, I want you to dream beyond our answers. What does that mean? Well, over the horizon. Think about something we can't see right now. That's where our next cure is, our next treatment is, our next innovative advancement in technology. It comes from stuff we don't understand just yet. And the only way we're going to get there is to ask questions, to see if we can go from science into magic. And in this case, I want you to dream about the magic of controlling water into an object. See, what would it take? First question should be, how strong would surface tension have to be to make a shape? Your next question should be, how strong could we make surface tension? And with a little bit of chemistry, what would it take to roll water into an object? Now, it will ripple and it will wobble. And I'll be honest, when I first came up with this idea, I had no idea this was possible. There was no magic section at the local Home Depot where you pick up the latest shaping water manual. Nothing said that this could be possible. But the only reason it exists right now is because somebody wondered if it could. And that's why we're here. We're here to see beyond our answers, to see how we can help Barlow get to the next level. So, I've got plenty of surprises for you. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in a little bit.
I'm Ron Say. As part of a Dodger team for many years, I know what a good team looks like. And Barlow has a great team, one that I'm happy to be a part of. And I just want to say how much I appreciate the team at Barlow and everything they do, day in and day out, to treat patients with serious complex illness with kindness and compassion. The effort to restore patients' strength, health, nutrition, and ventilator-free breathing takes a team with highly specialized skills, like the team of doctors and nurses, respiratory and rehab therapists, as well as social workers and other staff at Barlow. I want to thank all of you for joining us to support Barlow Respiratory Hospital tonight. Now more than ever, we need to do what we can do to support the team at Barlow. If you're able to give, please do. It's crucial to ensure that Barlow has the equipment, supplies, and infrastructure needed to keep doing the amazing work they do during and after the pandemic. Supporting Barlow is more urgent than ever before. If you haven't given yet and you're able to give, please click the link below to make your donation now. If you've already given, thank you.
Barlow Respiratory Hospital is an award-winning hospital with a legacy of over 100 years of caring for patients in Los Angeles. As a specialized long-term acute care hospital, Barlow plays a vital role in our patients' care and recovery journey from ICU to post-acute care in the greater Los Angeles area.
When it was suggested to us that my father be discharged from another hospital and be placed in Barlow so that he could further recover from an illness, that suggestion was an immediate blessing. He was accepted at the facility, and for the first time in months, I was able to sleep at night. The treatment he received there by the staff was unmatched.
As the only not-for-profit respiratory hospital in California, Barlow focuses all expenditures on patient care.
The doctors were engaged in my dad's treatment. It was clear that my father was being looked after, both medically and emotionally. I got to know everyone very well and literally trusted them with my dad's life.
While continuing with uninterrupted patient care, construction has begun to rebuild an adjacent, underutilized structure on Barlow Respiratory Hospital's iconic Los Angeles campus to transform the building from the inside out as a new state-of-the-art hospital. It will result in a dramatic reimagining of the entire hospital interior layout to increase capacity, with larger rooms, more beds, and ample space for state-of-the-art medical equipment.
After all, it wasn't just the way they embraced my dad, it was how each staff member embraced our family. We were scared, we were new at this, and they understood what we were going through.
The Barlow Respiratory Hospital renovation will provide a more comfortable and welcoming space for patients and their families to improve experience of care. With increased hospital capacity, Barlow can admit and treat more critically ill patients referred by the best hospitals in the region, and helps realize Barlow's mission to make a difference in the lives of individuals with chronic, critical illnesses in a post-acute setting. We are more than the buildings that house our medical and clinical teams, more than the walls and the hallways where we provide care. And yet, we trust that a new, expanded hospital will provide service and care for generations to come. As our long history of service has taught us, Barlow Respiratory Hospital's legacy is built upon the care we provide to our patients and their families.
Thank you, Barlow, for giving our family a few moments of peace. Thank you for treating my dad like family and for seeing him for who he really is. We are forever grateful.
Did you see that? We can certainly see why Barlow is so special. Hi, everybody. This is Vin Scully, and I'm so happy to be here this evening to support our friends at Barlow Respiratory Hospital. You know, when the O'Malley family built Dodger Stadium back in 1962, Barlow already had a long legacy of caring for patients with severe respiratory illness. Their dedicated staff has treated extremely ill patients with kindness and compassion since 1902, first defeating tuberculosis and now helping to battle COVID-19. Well, that's why the Rebuild Barlow campaign is so important. So now, we hope you enjoy the show. Thank you, and I wish you all a very pleasant good evening.
Welcome back. Now you can help me figure out this puzzle for Barlow. This represents Barlow and all its facts and pieces that go into the respiratory hospital and the framework that it operates within. Like this one, this piece could represent the fact that Barlow has been around for 120 years. This one could be that hundreds of other local hospitals look to Barlow for post-ICU respiratory care. And this one is the fact that it's already an award-winning respiratory hospital. And this big one, don't forget, Barlow is the only nonprofit respiratory hospital in the state of California. Whatever fact you're looking for, these are the points that actually make up Barlow. And the reason why I keep them in this shape is because I like reminding people these constitute the in-the-box ideas that make up Barlow already. But what we're trying to do is raise money for more pieces, more ventilators, more PPE for frontline workers. These are the pieces that we have to figure out how to put into this puzzle already. So that means we need your help so that we can move our pieces around, find a more efficient way to operate, and if we find the right order, well then, we can put those ventilators to work and impact a lot more people within the Barlow family. But we have a bigger idea. One that doesn't look like it should fit in any way. We're talking about rebuilding Barlow, a new building that can handle more patients and make a greater impact for generations to come. And we need your help to try to figure out how it fits into this puzzle. What can we do to move these pieces around? Because if we find the right order, well then we can really make a difference and change what is possible. So if you haven't already, make sure you click that link below and donate to Barlow. And together, we'll make the impossible possible.
Well, since Barlow is in the backyard of Dodger Stadium, we thought it would be nice to talk about the intersection of sports and health and how to safely and successfully play baseball during a pandemic. And I'm joined by an illustrious group of panelists. They don't need an introduction, but I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit about them anyway. First up, Larry King. Larry was born in Brooklyn and has been a lifelong Dodgers fan. He was regularly attending games at Dodger Stadium prior to the pandemic. He has had many personal health challenges, including a heart attack in 1987 that led to quintuple bypass surgery. He has since undergone an angioplasty and has had several stents inserted. Larry also had a cancerous tumor removed from his lung in 2017. Heart disease runs in his family as his father died at age 44. Also with us, Steve Garvey. Growing up in Florida, Steve served as a bat boy for the Dodgers, the team he would go on to play 14 seasons from 1969 to 1982. A two-sport star at Michigan State in both baseball and football, Garvey was a 10-time All-Star who led the Dodgers to a World Series championship in 1981. Among his many accomplishments, Steve Garvey set the national record for consecutive games played, 1,207 straight games without missing a single game, played for over 8 seasons from September 75 to July 1983. Impressive. Dennis Gilbert. Dennis grew up in Gardena and started at Gardena High and Los Angeles City College and played for both the Red Sox and Mets organizations before launching a career in the life insurance industry. As baseball's most successful agent, he negotiated record-breaking deals for his clients. One contract of note that we all know about was the one that Dennis negotiated for his former client, Bobby Bonilla, who receives a $1 million check every year on July 1st for 25 years. Wendy Carrillo. Wendy was born in El Salvador and migrated with her family to Los Angeles at age 5. She grew up in East Los Angeles in Boyle Heights and attended Roosevelt High and Cal State LA. Wendy was granted citizenship at age 21. She was elected in 2017 to represent the 51st Assembly District, which includes Barlow Hospital. Assemblymember Carrillo chairs the Select Committee on Uplifting Girls and Women of Color in California. Also with us, Carrie Champion, award-winning sports broadcast journalist, host of Stick to Sports on Vice TV and The Arena on TNT, and she graduated from UCLA. And Carrie has a foundation that mentors young women of color. And last but not least, our own Dr. David Nelson, medical director of Barlow Respiratory Hospital and a professor at UCLA. So Larry, let's get started with you. As a performer with 7 decades of experience in broadcasting and as a longtime diehard fan watching the Dodgers in Brooklyn and now Los Angeles, what are your thoughts on watching baseball without fans in the stands?
Well, it's unusual. We've never had a situation like this in the world. But you know, there's a lot that overshadows this. We're at 200,000 dead. 200,000 dead. We lead the world in deaths. So as important as sport is, and sport is important, and I love my baseball and I love my Dodgers, but I love my country more, and I sure hope we can get our act together, because that hospital is appropriately named respiratory, because that's what this is, a respiratory disease. It goes through the air. If you don't wear a mask, you're nuts. So that's my
so important. So important, Larry. Thank you. Steve, from a player's perspective, how do the players get motivated without fans in the stands?
Well, it's called a paycheck, number one. And number two, these are professional players that have spent their whole life with dreams of ultimately reaching the major leagues. And to be there, even in this pandemic, for them is about compassion, dedication. It's about dedicating themselves to the fans, to the great organization, the Dodgers they play for, the city of Los Angeles, fans all over the country. It is difficult, because this is a entertainment business. Sports, any of them, feed off the fans, and not to have the fans in the stands, I think took a couple of weeks to get used to, but I think they've adjusted to it. They think back to their youth when they were playing on sandlot fields with nobody but mom and dad and a few friends, maybe a girlfriend in the stands. But they're true professionals. They've gone out, and I really am impressed by the excellence on the field by all teams.
They're doing a great job. And Dennis Gilbert, I'll just remind everyone, I think everyone knows you were the inspiration for the HBO comedy series Arliss. As a current team executive at the Chicago White Sox, what is the impact on the entire staff, the players, the coaches, and the front office on traveling to other cities during COVID-19?
I can just tell from my own perspective, baseball to me is not a game. It's not just a sport, but it's a way of life, because it's that, to me, it crushes me that I haven't been able to leave the house since March. I'm scared. I had a triple bypass last year, and I know what damage it's done. It's so serious. And as Larry says, we've got to come up with a solution. You got to find a cure for everybody. So important.
You're doing a great job of running your own business too from home. You haven't left your house because you're also a cancer survivor. So how are you able to operate and run your business?
Well, when I was a player, I had 3 tools. I could hit okay, I could really run, and I can talk. Well, I can't hit or run anymore, but I can still talk.
Absolutely. Wendy Carrillo, as an elected official in Sacramento, and you live in the Dodgers' backyard, don't you? So you see the baseballs coming toward your house. How have you adjusted in your job as a legislator in Sacramento, being around everyone?
So the state legislature and the assembly I think we've done an incredible job in trying to protect the public, the 40 million people that call California home, in regards to ensuring that our essential and frontline workers have PPE, that we are also, or protective equipment, personal protective equipment, that farm workers who pick our food and allow for us to be able to stay home have the protections that they need, that we are also at the same time ensuring that our communities are participating in the census, which ensures that community clinics and hospitals like Barlow stay open, especially considering that Barlow is the only nonprofit respiratory hospital in the entire state of California and is dealing with not only the workforce that they have, but also the impact to all of the patients that they care for. And so for me, this is my backyard. I'm so honored to represent Dodger Stadium. I threw the first pitch against the Giants last year, which was really excited. I made it over the mound. And also to represent such an important hospital in our community that cares for so many. So despite everything going on, we are doing the very best we can to ensure that the people in our communities have the resources that they need.
All right, Wendy, before I get to you, Carrie, one piece of housekeeping. If you are watching us from the website, that's great. But if you want to ask a question, go ahead and click on the YouTube icon. That will allow you to get in, ask a question, and I will see it here in my chat box, and we'll be able to ask it in just a little bit. Now, Carrie, you're busy. Where are you right now?
I'm in Atlanta right now working, Denise, but it's such an honor to be here with this esteemed panel. So thank you so much for having me.
So Carrie, what is it like to cover sports during the pandemic? How do you interview players?
Covering sports during the pandemic has been a challenge, but what I would like to echo the sentiments of everyone here on this panel in terms of where we are in this country and how we're dealing with everything in this country. First and foremost, it's about saving lives and getting a hold of this disease that is killing. So I think that covering sports in some way is a reprieve for many people. It is something that allows them to take their minds off the day to day. And it's been, ironically easy. The access to players has been easy in terms of we're able to do a Zoom call as we're doing right now. It's also easy to talk to them about what's happening in our world, because everyone right now is a part of one big race, and that is the human race. And I want to just follow up with what Wendy just said. She said she's happy to be here for Barlow because of what it does and how it really truly helps everyone in the community, the nonprofit hospital. I'm here, because I have a personal relationship. My best friend Kendra Carter has a father at Barlow, and he was, on death's door. And he is there now, living and thriving. Jerry Carter doing well. And this hospital needs funds. It needs people that help and understand that what they do here is imperative. And so I am just so happy to be here. But most importantly, I would like to share with everyone that while we are here talking about sports, it's really important for us to make sure that we're raising money and trying to save lives as well.
Very well said. Thank you, Carrie. And Larry, as you mentioned earlier in the conversation, baseball is great, but our lives are more important. But you must feel that it is important for us to have something to relax us, right?
Baseball and all sport, baseball especially to me, is so unimportantly important. That is, what the Dodgers do or the White Sox do will not affect our life one iota, yet it does. And it does because sport is ingrained in us. When our team loses, we lose. When our team wins, we win. It is unimportant. You can't write a thesis why it's important. You can't, but it's unimportantly important. And this time of pandemic is especially important because we're all looking for something to watch. I would bet the ratings for baseball, all these sports are tremendous because there's no place to go but to watch them.
Right. And Larry, we have a short season, and it's been years, since 1988, since we won the World Series. Do you think because we have a shortened season and we're in this pandemic, if we win, will it make it less special?
It counts, understand? If the Dodgers win the World Series, it counts. If they don't, I don't care who wins.
Yes.
Well, Steve, as a player, I'm sure you have something to add to that.
I do. Almost as importantly, though, if I may say this, I'm so very, very honored to be on this panel tonight. With a dad that's got 5 daughters. I have 2 sons too, but more importantly, the 5 girls. What you women have achieved in your life at such a young age is so inspirational. A few of my daughters had a chance to go online and to look at your biographies. As a matter of fact, my youngest daughter, Olivia, is at WABC 7 in Washington, D.C. As a sports anchor there. But I think what we're talking about here is that, we're all inspired by people who've had a certain amount of success. What comes with that is the respect we have. And I do a lot of motivational speaking, and I talk about life being God's great gift to us, and what we do with it is our gift to Him. And we can't choose our color, who our parents were, certain genetics, but we can, as time goes on, that gift God gave to us, we can give back by looking at each other in the face and realizing that that person is a gift from God, and respecting them, trying to understand their lives as much as ours, and to go through this very, very difficult life together. And as Larry said, this pandemic has touched all of us in many ways. And in many ways, although we think it may have been divisive because of certain happenings, it brings us together as Americans to be able to, as we always have, through whether it's a war or whether it's a famine or whatever it may be, come together as Americans. And the game I was blessed to play, our national pastime, Anna said, and Larry have said, is truly a unifier, and especially your team that brought the first Black player, Jackie Robinson, onto the field and changed sports forever. So I'm honored to play a sport that believes in that. And as far as the season goes, our Dodgers, again, have had a great regular season. It's those little minefields in October that I think we've learned from in the past that we're going to have to step around a little bit. But you know, also about Barlow Hospital, the lights from Dodger Stadium shine brightly on Barlow because two different businesses, the same goal, and that's a respect for the people that they either entertain or treat. And Barlow's constant dedication to quality of life and to its patients is, I think, one of the reasons we're all here tonight. And past, present, and future, Barlow will set an example.
Yeah, it is a special place. When I was doing a live shot there, people were coming up to me telling me how wonderful it was and how well taken care of their loved ones are. And that doesn't happen all the time. And Dr. Nelson, you're right there. Tell us about what it's like to be on the front lines and how has the pandemic affected Barlow, sorry.
I get that a lot. My mother thought I worked in Barstow when I first took this job. First of all, I really wanted to welcome and thank this amazing panel for supporting us. We really feel the love. And to piggyback on what Mr. Garvey was saying, I think the way that we deliver care is the same way that the Dodgers work. It's a team. And I recognize, okay, I'm the doctor, I'm the medical director, but I could never do what I do the way that I do it without the whole team working together. And I think that's really one of the things that makes my practice and my working at Barlow to be a really, really special thing. So in the pandemic, I realized compared with everybody else on the panel, I'm the lucky one in terms of I get to do my job that I love to do pretty much the same every day as I would under normal circumstances. And I get to physically go to my job. It's hard to do what I do remotely. It's impossible, really. So I recognize that I'm really lucky that all the team that I work with, they recognize how lucky they are too. We like to feel like we are contributing to fighting the corona pandemic, but remember our origin goes back to 1902 and it was TB. So it was a different type of pandemic, but through the years, whether it's the pandemic of 1918 or COVID, we at Barlow feel like we've been able to make a contribution, and we really look forward to continuing to make a contribution. And the support of everybody on this panel and everybody watching is going to be absolutely crucial to make that happen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Nelson. And Dennis, the hospital needs to raise $4 million to make this rebuild happen. Do you have any advice on how we can get the money coming in, because you're the successful moneymaker?
I've got a lot of advice.
Great.
Go ahead.
Lemonade stand maybe to start? I don't know.
I was playing now, I would just give you the money, right?
There you go. Be careful what you say, Mr. Garvey.
I better take something to get myself back ready again.
It's a beloved institution, and we all want to do our part to make sure that it sticks around. It's been around for so long. Larry, how has this pandemic affected you personally?
Well, I have to do my show from my living room. I'm living with my son who takes care of me. I don't know what I'd do without him. I had a stroke a year and a half ago, and the result of the stroke was non-use of my left foot. So I'm getting rehab, and I'm working hard every day to hope to walk again. And it's been, do you ever get used to not going anywhere? I don't go anywhere. Can you ever get used to it? I haven't gotten used to it. It still bugs me.
Right. We're so grateful that you're able to do your show so that we can still see you and hear from you. And you look great. What about you, Steve? How has the pandemic affected you personally?
Well, interestingly enough, our youngest is a senior at Michigan State, and he came home in March once they closed the school down. The other daughter I was telling you about was making the transition to Washington for ABC, but was on a holding pattern for a while. Another son was working for a consumer goods business we started in Newport, and he came down because they had to close the offices. All of a sudden, the empty nesters had a full house again. And and really just all of us back together again. You know, once the kids leave home, rarely do they come back and stay for a prolonged period. So for the family to get together to talk about this pandemic, what we could do as a responsible family, has been quite the experience. And like Larry said, you know, without baseball, it's such a big part of course, my life and Larry's and Dennis. Not to have it, it was actually a boom for my career because they had all those retro games. And the millennials started writing me saying, "Hey, you weren't a bad ball player after all." I said, "Thank you." I've had more fan mail since the pandemic started than I've had in the last 25 years. But again, it brings people together. It has them focus on things they really enjoy. And even if they're all retro games, it was some baseball. And to have baseball come back, obviously, has energized all of us. And God willing, you know, someday, relatively soon, we'll be back in the stadiums cheering for our teams.
All right, we only have a minute left, so maybe just quick words from each of you that you would tell people who are watching this on how to get through this pandemic and survive. Wendy?
Well, I would say be patient with yourself. Know that it's okay to feel all the feelings that you're feeling. If you are an essential worker, know that there are a lot of us that want to ensure that you are protected. And so the state legislature has passed a lot of laws to ensure that all workers have the protections that they need at work. And if you are lucky enough to be quarantined at home, remember that there are people on the outside that are trying to make our lives easier, including all of the frontline and essential workers at Barlow Hospital, which is why it's so important that we support this incredible institution right here at home.
Carrie?
I have one message for everyone. Well, two, actually. The first is wear a mask. It is imperative. I don't think they need it, but it's most important. And then the second thing to get through this pandemic is to make sure you vote. Those are my two messages for everyone because they go hand in hand in helping solve where we are right now in this country.
Now, how about you, Dennis?
Reminds me of a poem my father wrote. It's about life. Life could be bitter, life could be sweet. It all depends on the side of the street that you travel on as you go on your way. Keep your mind on tomorrow, not yesterday. One side has darkness, the other bright lights. Stay on the bright side, it has no nights. Yesterday's past, so forget it, it's gone. With tomorrow in mind, you could carry on. So make your life sweet, not bitter, my friends, and you'll find you'll carry on to the very end.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Dennis.
Steve,
can you top that?
Cannot top that. Congratulations, Dennis. It's the hit of the night. And my only closing message would be wear a mask.
All right. You said it all. You're the king. Thank you. Thank
now,
you.
Larry's the king.
Right. Larry is the king. So thank you so much. Thank you, Steve Garvey. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Steve Garvey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Larry. Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Dr. Nelson. We hope you were inspired to help us out and just get through life. So thank you for joining us for this wonderful panel, and on with the show.
Christine Devine here. Thank you for joining us for Together Apart. It's wonderful to see so many supporting Barlow Respiratory Hospital. Now more than ever, it's vital that we help ensure they have the equipment and supplies they need to keep doing the good work they do during and after this pandemic. Barlow's expertise at weaning patients from ventilators is more important than ever, and they need to upgrade their fleet of this high-demand piece of equipment to ensure they can help ventilated patients breathe on their own again. And as many of you know, they're in the middle of rebuilding their historic hospital to provide a state-of-the-art facility that supports the excellent care their patients deserve and receive. Supporting Barlow is more urgent than ever before. If you haven't given yet, please click the link below to make your donation now. If you have already given, thank you.
Final segment, I wanted to show you something very dear to my heart. A while ago, I was asked to represent the United States at the World Championships of Magic, so I really brainstormed what would be the best illusion to do. And I came up with an idea. Take the oldest trick in the book, the game of follow the ball, but under those cups that you try to follow the ball underneath on the street game, and see if I could do it with clear glass cups. Now, when I came up with the idea, magicians started laughing. They started erupting in laughter. And when I walked out on stage and I brought these cups out, all the contestants started just joking around. And I waited till they stopped laughing at me. And I said, I will just do one move to see which magicians are watching carefully. So I waited till I had everyone's attention, and I said, all you have to do is follow the ball. And it looked like this. All of a sudden, the 1,500 contestants leaned forward. And so I decided I would do it one more time. They were seeing beyond their answers. They were seeing something that had never existed before. This was thought to be the only trick that could never be done. And it now exists because somebody wondered if it could. Now, it seems simple. I mean, you can see the ball through the cup. So let's make it a little bit more difficult. Just think of it this way. Had we listened to our answers, had we listened to what we thought was possible, we never would have discovered flight. Had we listened to the illusion of knowledge, had we listened to what we thought we knew what can and can't happen, even something as simple as this trick would still be considered not possible. Oh, you like that? Here, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a hint. This one is going here. This one will end up here. Okay? It will look like this. As long as you're smiling and not yelling, burn him, that's okay. I don't mind. Now, think of it this way. In order to prove the word impossible, you'd actually have to be able to prove the word never, right? You'd have to prove that something could never happen, given an infinite amount of trials. The problem is, we've never had a rule book of what can and can't happen. So everything's possible till you quit. Because you can't prove the word never. You'd have to be able to prove infinite amount of trials. Think about it this way. Even those impossible ideas like flight was always possible. We just didn't know how to do it until someone asked a question about lift, right? So regardless of how impossible this looks, there must be a solution. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a lot of sugar in my coffee this morning. Remember, even though something looks impossible, it doesn't mean it is impossible. And when I said I was going to do the cups and balls routine with glass cups, everyone laughed. But when I meant glass, I meant solid glass. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a great night. And thank you again from Barlow and the rest of us. You've been fantastic. Thank you so much for your support.
Gil Cedillo here, your city councilman. Thank you for joining us tonight at Barlow's Respiratory Hospitals, Together Apart. Thank you, Barlow. Thank you, doctors and nurses and RTs and the rehab team and the social workers and all others on the front line who show up every day to make Barlow the premier respiratory hospital that it is, the first choice of all hospitals in the region. And thank you for being here, particularly through these difficult times of this pandemic. Now more than ever, we need to do all that we can to help Barlow. Let's keep the bright light that Barlow is in our community. Let's keep it even ongoing and greater amplified than it's ever been. Barlow needs so much to continue its mission. It needs infrastructure, it needs inventory, it needs supplies, and it needs the human capital that everybody who works there offers. And so I just want to ask you again tonight, I know you're here, I know you care about Barlow like I do, but let's see if we can dig a little deeper and help Barlow keep that light going even greater. Thank you so much. Enjoy your evening.
I hear you. Thank you for being part of our very first online fundraiser. It would not be successful without you. So thank you so much for being a part of it. We just want to thank everyone, and I really enjoyed the discussion we had on the panel, and we hope you did too. Very enlightening. And Jason Latimer, he was amazing. I look forward to seeing more from him. And if you haven't had a chance and you haven't been able to give, please go to www.barlowhospital.org and donate today. Please, we need you. Enjoy this closing video, and we will see you again next year.
Thank you for supporting Barlow. We truly appreciate all you do to help us save lives.
Thank you.
Thank you for your donations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.